My name is Ben. I am going to be your teacher for the next 2 classes. Class number 1 will be Twilight Knights Renaissance Guild Customs and Courtesies, and class number 2 will be Improv. When we are on stage, especially if we're paid for the gig, especially if we're paid to do the show, we do need to maintain the illusion that we are in English or Viking times. So you need to understand that. Last but not least, I need you to understand the proper forms of address when speaking to a person. We'll get to the details of that in a little bit, but in general, you don't go up to somebody and yell, "What's up, dude?"
What's up?
Okay?
What's up, dude?
All right? When we're at fair, we want to try to keep things as close to the illusion as possible. How many people here, the thought of, being in front of an audience, especially solo, is like fear-inducing, numb, I hate it, I don't like this idea, this is not good for me, okay? Many of us also suffer from anxiety, panic attacks, stage fright, whatever you want to call it. Just the thought of being out there hurts. Just the thought out there makes you freak out, makes you upset. And 90% of the time I find that the reason why you're upset is because you don't know what to expect, right? The fear that is unknown is a lot more than the fear that is known, right? How many of you as a kid, you're going to get a shot for an immunization or whatever. I don't want a shot. That's horrible. You get to the doctor, bing, ow, hey, that was it? Right? And you spend all that time worrying about it when, in actuality, it wasn't that bad. Well, this will give you a chance, and when we do things up in Improv, this will get you a chance to get used to doing that stuff. Things you need to take away from this class. Number 1, you need to understand the basic costume requirements for Ren Fair or Viking. You need to understand some basic concepts of speech when we're at these events so that you can understand how to speak. I do not expect anybody in this guild to stick to Old English at all times, especially if you're in the pit or especially if you're giving a lesson, all right? Because honestly, some of the kids that we have in lessons, pretty good, sir, hold your sword up high like a good Englishman, and they'll look at you and go, huh? All right? Whereas, get your sword up so you can block your head. They understand that part.
Yeah.
Okay? So understand, I don't expect you to keep the Old English at all times. Why do we do this class? It is because many of our events are reenactments. We are at Renaissance fairs, we're at Celtic fairs, we're at Viking fairs, we are at Victorian fairs, we're at Dickens. Sometimes steampunk, which uses a lot of the vocabulary, but there are changes. And while they're not all the same, they do have some characteristics that are the same. Is that the right word? Okay. So, you need to know. The other reason why we do this class is because, quite frankly, we are not Elizabethan, we are not Victorian, we are not Edwardian, and as much as some of us may like to think so, we are not Vikings. So it is good to have this information and to know what is expected of you because, hey, like G.I. Joe says, knowing is half the battle, right? The other thing, too, is, let's be honest, if you look at yourself, if you look at your fellow guild members, prospects, etc., how many of you notice that, quite frankly, many of us are introverts? What? Yeah. We're a bunch of nerds. We are all, kind of like, we're not really out there. In the past, we have had some members who feel that this guild is a perfect chance for them to be in the spotlight, to be on stage, and they actually got mad when they weren't, because it is a group victory, and it is only an individual victory if you fight in tournaments or in the pit. Customs and Courtesies. While we are principally a fighting group, we are a Renaissance guild, and performing at Renaissance fairs is a very big part of what we do. While we are performing at a Renaissance fair, or a Celtic fair, or a Viking fair, or a Dickens fair, or an Edwardian fair, whatever, okay? We strive to create the experience of a 16th century quarter camp, and it is part of your responsibility to help maintain that impression. From your mode of dress, to the methods of speech, to the specifics of how you interact with people at fair, everything moves towards maintaining the illusion of the period. A root of how to maintain the experience of the late 16th century is your social station. Elizabethan times were sharply stratified, and everything could depend on your rank. While it is absolutely okay to promote somebody a social rank or two, all right? How many of you have been to Ren Fair before? How many people notice that if you go into a merchant's booth, they will almost always call you Lord or Lady? Okay? They're actually promoting you about 3 ranks for most of you. Okay? 4 for others. Forever for others. Why? Because it's a form of kiss-assery. And because it is a nice, safe way to address somebody if you are not sure. Okay? But, in actuality, the proper way to address somebody is very, very important. If you, as a trooper, were to call a Lord Sarah, you will probably find yourself arrested and placed in the stocks. If you do not give proper duty to those ranked above you, then you are in deep, deep kimchi. Now, how do you tell, well, if somebody's above you or lower than you? Well, obviously, if they're addressing you as Lord, they think they're below you, so it's pretty safe. You can also tell by the clothing that they wear. You can also tell by the jewelry and ornamentation that they wear. Okay? But it is very, very important that you get this right. Number 1, thee and thou. The familiar second person singular. Used with good friends, children, social inferiors, and animals, with the possible exception of horses. Because horses are noble. You. Formal second person singular for mere acquaintances, strangers, and social superiors. The formal second person plural is ye. Sarah. A form of address for a child or man of lesser rank, such as the servant or the pot boy in a tavern. Modern slang. Okay. What's up? Dude. Try not to do that. Being verbose and using a wide variety of words was a way to brag about one's education or supposedly bring yourself up a social notch or 2. Putting it simply, use 10 words when one will do. Respectfully referencing the name of God and talking about religious subjects was part of daily life. Remember that there was no internet, no telephones, no postal service, so all information was spread by word of mouth. Gossip about everyone and everything as much as possible. Brag about your new horse. Grumble about your officers. Whisper loudly about your lord's loose morals. Have fun, but also be entertaining for the patrons of the event. Project your speech and enunciate so that everyone can understand you. Okay? Your character! To play a fun and convincing character, you need to know who you are ahead of your time. What is your name? All right? And honestly, if you're playing an Englishman, a very simple answer is that John, William, Michael, right? Brian, okay? Braun. What is your country of origin? This is very, very, very important. Because there are certain countries where you can get away with shit, and certain countries where you can't. All right? For instance, just an example, not picking on. Hi, Lee. Hello. Your character, I believe, is from Ireland, yay?
Aye.
Aye. So, you could get away with a lot more cussing whilst in character than a same-ranked English trooper. Do you see what I'm saying?
There's a pretty fucking good reason I chose it.
Exactly. Right? So, just so you know, right? Religion. What is your religion? And no, you cannot be atheist or don't care. Because quite frankly, back then, that will get you killed. Okay? I do not expect you to truly, honestly believe whatever religion that you choose to portray. For instance, my character is Lutheran. Do I go to a Lutheran church? No, I don't. Okay? If you know me, you know what my religious beliefs are. But you can't be an atheist. Okay? You can't not have a religion. Because that is one of the major things that sets apart people in rank. Basically, if you don't have one, you're going to get killed. What about your family? Do you have one? Yeah, our guild is made up of a shitload of orphans, man. Why are you here? What made you just join the elite dragoons of Denmark? Okay, there's a reason why. I mean, nobody just wakes up one day in Ireland. I think I'll just walk to Denmark. Hi, I'd like to sign up for the dragoons. No, it just doesn't happen like that. Okay? What was the reason that made you join? What was the reason that you're in Denmark in the first place? Or did you meet us outside of Denmark during one of our campaigns? We used to have a person who played a Spaniard. And his whole point was that, you know, the troop was in Spain. And we got into a skirmish and we wiped out the entire Spanish, you know, bandits that came at us. And he was a village boy and he saw it and he was like, well, shit, my government, my king can't even do anything about the bandits. But here are these guys that not only I killed them all, they got paid to do it. I think I'm going to join them. And so he did. Until he got caught and kicked out. Anyway, everybody who is now a prospect needs to think of a character that you're going to be. Everybody who is now a member should already have a character that you have either played or made in the past already. Okay? Your character doesn't have to be big and fancy, although I very seldom see anybody be something very low, like, I'm a farmer. No. Okay? You need to have a character. Alright? Costume should be made of natural materials, cotton, wool, linen, some leather, and cover your entire body. Now, I'm not saying you should go around trying to be an assassin. Okay? But in general, no. We don't go around with our sleeves torn off. Okay? We don't have our skirts hiked up to freaking here. Okay? With fishnets underneath. It may look very good, but since we are paid to be players, we need to follow the rules. Okay? Remember that you will be moving and fighting for hours on end in your costume. So make sure it is functional as well as period. Alright? There are 3 things you are encouraged to spend the most money on. Ready? Your boots or footwear. Your weapons appropriate to your station, period, and time and country. And your food. These are the 3 things you should spend the most money on. A basic trooper's costume should avoid noble colors. Black, I'm going to say right now, black is okay. You're Danish. Blue, dark reds, saffron, and definitely no purple. Also fit your character and position. Alright? If you are, for instance, playing a Mongolian, you should not be technically dressed head to toe in English clothing. If you are playing an Italiano, you shouldn't be running around with a kilt. Just saying. Not that you do, but I'm saying. Okay? And believe me, I understand. When you go to Renaissance Fair, you will see people dressed absolutely incorrectly. I don't want us to be one of those.